I'm going to kiss you now, Astria murmured, tail swaying lazily, and you're either going to stop me or enjoy it. Robert didn't lean away, didn't rush it either. He just met her eyes, calm and steady. Bold strategy for a first date. Her smile widened. You haven't said no. Traveler, before we begin, there exists a small archive of transmissions not broadcast across open channels, early signals, extended recordings, stories that haven't yet drifted into the wider void. If you ever find yourself wanting more, you'll find that archive below, located at the Patreon. Now then, let's talk about humans. They have a strange habit of complicating something very simple: spending time with someone they like. They create rules, expectations, silent tests. And yet, sometimes, all it takes is one unexpected encounter to unravel all of that. Robert Hale did not believe in perfect timing. He believed in showing up on time, paying attention, and leaving when things stopped making sense. It was a practical way to move through life. He worked as a freelance repair technician, electronics, small systems, anything most people replaced instead of fixing. It paid well enough, kept him moving, and didn't require pretending to be someone he wasn't. Most days were simple. Fix the problem, get paid, go home, no drama, no surprises. That's how he liked it. Astria was the opposite of simple. No one was entirely sure what she did. She drifted between circles, part courier, part information broker, part something else no one could quite pin down. What people did know: she showed up when she felt like it, left when she was bored, and had a habit of turning ordinary interactions into something memorable. She was curious in a way that made people uneasy, not because she was dangerous, but because she paid attention to things most people hid and enjoyed it. They met 3 weeks ago, not romantically, not even intentionally. Robert had been fixing a busted payment terminal in a late-night corner shop. Astria had been watching him, not casually, not subtly, just standing nearby, arms folded, tail swaying slowly behind her like she had nowhere better to be. He'd ignored it for about 5 minutes, then finally looked up. You planning to say something or just stare until I fix it faster? Her response had been immediate. You're not rushing. Because rushing breaks things. That's interesting. Not really. I think it is. She didn't leave, didn't interrupt, just observed. And when he finished, she smiled, that same sharp, curious smile. I like the way you work, she said. Robert wiped his hands off, unimpressed. That's a new one. You don't try to impress anyone. Because I don't need to. She tilted her head slightly. Exactly. He expected that to be the end of it. It wasn't. She showed up again. Different place, different time. Same look in her eyes, same quiet attention. No small talk, no pretending, just interest. By the third time, Robert stopped asking how she kept finding him and started asking something else. All right, he said one evening, leaning back against a counter after finishing another job. You've been following me long enough. I prefer observing. Feels like following. Only because you noticed. That's not reassuring. Her smile widened. Good. He studied her for a moment, measured. Then, what do you want? No hesitation. I want to take you on a date. Robert blinked once, not shocked, just recalibrating. You don't ease into things, do you? I don't see the point. And if I said no, I'd ask again later. That's persistent. That's efficient. He huffed a quiet laugh, and for some reason, didn't say no, which is how he ended up here, outside a cafe, 10 minutes early, hands in his jacket pockets, watching people pass by while pretending he wasn't thinking about it. It wasn't nerves, not exactly. It was awareness. Astria didn't do anything halfway, and tonight, he had no idea what that meant. There is something very specific about humans like Robert. They don't chase excitement. But when it finds them, they don't always walk away. And Astrea, she does not wait for permission to begin something interesting. Which brings us to the important part. The door behind him opened, soft chime, warm light spilling out into the night. And then, her voice, "You're early." Robert didn't turn immediately, just smirked faintly. "You're late." A pause, then, "Closer now." "Am I?" she asked. He turned, and there she was, not dressed to impress, not trying to stand out, and somehow more noticeable because of it. "By 3 minutes," he said. "That's within acceptable range." "According to who?" "Me." "Convenient." She stepped closer, close enough that the space between them disappeared before either of them acknowledged it. Her eyes flicked over him once, quick, intentional, then settled. "You came," she said. "Yeah, good." "You sound like that wasn't guaranteed." "It wasn't." Robert raised an eyebrow. "Confident, observant," she corrected. "Difference. I notice when people hesitate." "And I didn't?" "You did," she said. "But you came anyway." A small beat, then her smile returned. Slow, satisfied. "I like that." The cafe wrapped around them the moment they stepped inside. Warm light, soft noise, the low hum of people pretending not to listen to each other. Astria paused just past the doorway, not hesitating, taking it in. Her ears shifted subtly, catching overlapping sounds, cups, voices, a quiet laugh from somewhere deeper in the room. Her tail moved once behind her. Slow. "I like this," she said. "You decided that fast?" Robert asked. "Yes." "Based on what?" She glanced back at him. "Nothing feels tense." Robert smirked faintly. "Give it a minute." They didn't wait to be seated. Estrella had already picked a table by the window before anyone could stop them. Robert followed without comment. That was becoming a pattern. She sat first, smooth, relaxed, tail curling loosely beside her chair like it belonged there. Robert dropped into the seat across from her, casual, observing, waiting to see what she'd do next. The waitress approached, friendly, automatic smile, notepad ready. "Hey, welcome in. Can I get you started with?" "We'll have the chocolate lava cake." Estrella didn't even glance at the menu. Didn't pause. Didn't ask. Just decided. The waitress blinked. A small pause. "Just the dessert?" she asked. "Yes." Simple. Certain. The waitress's eyes shifted, briefly, to Robert, that quiet check. "That is this right?" Moment. Robert saw it, felt it, understood it instantly, and chose not to touch it. "Yeah," he said easily. "Two of those." The waitress hesitated just a fraction longer, then nodded. "All right, 2 lava cakes." Another quick look, not rude, just curious. Then she walked off. Astria watched her go, head tilting slightly, not bothered, just noticing. Then she looked back at Robert. "Something was different," she said. Robert leaned back slightly. "Different? How?" She paused. Astria said, "When I ordered." She did. "And then she looked at you." Robert shrugged lightly. "Yeah." A small pause. Astria studied him for a second. "You understood it." Not a question, an observation. I had an idea, he said. You're not going to explain it yet. That made him smirk. Not yet. Her tail flicked once, not annoyed, interested. All right, she said. I'll figure it out. The moment passed. Not dropped, stored. The desserts arrived quickly. 2 plates set down carefully. The chocolate lava cake sat warm and intact. Outer layer firm, center just barely contained. A faint shimmer of heat rose from the surface. Rich, dark, inviting. Estria leaned in immediately. No hesitation. Her eyes narrowed slightly as she studied it. It's unstable, she said. Robert let out a quiet laugh. That's one way to describe it. She picked up the spoon, carefully at first, then pressed into the center. The cake broke open. Chocolate spilled outward in a slow, thick wave. Her ears lifted slightly. Oh, she scooped a small amount, brought it up, tasted it, and froze. Not exaggerated, not dramatic, just still, like her brain needed a second to catch up. Robert watched her, amused. Good? He asked. No answer. She took another bite, then another, faster this time, then stopped herself, mid-motion, setting the spoon down like it required effort. This is distracting, she said. That bad? That effective? He smiled. Yeah, that sounds right. She leaned back slightly, recalibrating, then picked up the spoon again. Slower now, more deliberate. Her tail flicked once behind her. Satisfied. You knew about this, she said. I've had it before. You didn't warn me. I wanted to see your reaction. Her eyes flicked up to his, sharp, interested. That's unfair. It worked. It did. A quiet beat settled between them, but not empty, just grounded. Astria took another bite, smaller this time, thinking. Then she glanced toward the counter, where the waitress had gone. She did it again, Astria said. Did what? That look, she said, before she left. Robert followed her gaze briefly, then nodded. Yeah. Astria looked back at him. You're going to explain it now. That sounds like a demand. It is. He exhaled softly through his nose. All right, he set his spoon down. Most humans don't start with dessert, he said. It's usually the last thing they order. Astria blinked once, then looked down at the cake, then back at him. Why? She asked. Tradition, mostly. Habit. That seems inefficient. Robert smirked faintly. You're not wrong. She considered that for a second. Then why didn't you correct me? There it was, clean, direct, curious. Robert didn't rush the answer, didn't deflect it. He just met her eyes. Because I wanted to see how you do things. The words landed, quietly but clearly. Astria held his gaze. Something shifted. Not playful, not teasing, just recognition. You didn't think it was wrong, she said. No. Even though it's not how humans do it, doesn't mean it's worse. Her tail moved again, slower this time, thoughtful. In my culture, she said, you start with what you want. Most. Robert raised an eyebrow. That sounds dangerous. It's honest. It's impulsive. It's efficient. He huffed a quiet laugh. Fair. She picked up the spoon again. Another bite, smaller, measured. Then, you're different than I expected, she said. How so? You didn't try to make this normal. I didn't see a reason to. A small pause. Then, I'm not dating a human tonight, he added. I'm dating you. That did it. Astria smiled. Not sharp, not teasing, just warm. I like that, she said. Good. Because I would have ignored you anyway. Robert laughed, quiet, genuine. Yeah, he said. I figured. Astria tried, at first, to pace herself. Smaller bites, more control, that lasted maybe 30 seconds. Then the restraint slipped. "This is still distracting," she said, halfway through another bite. Robert smirked. "You're not even pretending anymore." "I tried." "You did. Briefly." She pointed her spoon at him. "You didn't warn me it would be this effective. I thought watching you figure it out would be more interesting." Her eyes flicked up, sharp, amused. "That's manipulative." "That's observational." "That's the same thing." "Not quite." She huffed a quiet laugh and finished the last bite. Not rushed, just satisfied. Then leaned back slightly, tail swaying in a slow, content rhythm behind her. "All right," she said. "That was worth it. Good. You picked well." "I didn't pick," he reminded her. "You did." "I chose the direction," she said. "You confirmed it." "That's teamwork." She tilted her head slightly. "I like that definition." The plates were cleared. The space between them felt different now, less like two people figuring each other out, more like two people who had already started. Astria glanced around the cafe again, less focused, this time, more relaxed. "You were right," she said. "About this place," she said. "It did get more interesting." Robert followed her gaze briefly, then back to her. "Yeah," he said. "It did." They stood almost at the same time. No discussion, no awkward pause. Just a shared understanding that they weren't done yet. Outside, the air felt cooler than before. The night had settled in properly now. Lights stretched longer across the pavement. More people out. More movement. More noise. Astria stepped onto the sidewalk and paused. Her ears shifted again, catching something. Not nearby. Further down, a pattern, a rhythm. "Do you hear that?" she asked. Robert listened. At first, nothing specific. Then, there it was. Music. Live. Not polished. Not perfect. But real. "Yeah," he said. "That's a street performer." Astria didn't answer. She was already moving. Robert watched her go for half a second, then followed. The sound grew clearer as they got closer. A guitar, acoustic, worn but steady. The musician sat on a low stool near the edge of the street, fingers moving with practiced ease. A small crowd had gathered, not large, just enough to form a loose circle. Some listening, some passing by, some pretending not to listen at all. Astria slowed as they approached, then stopped completely, not at the edge, closer than that, inside the circle. She didn't clap, didn't react the way others did. She just listened, fully, head slightly tilted, eyes focused, like she was trying to understand something beneath the sound. Robert stayed just behind her, close enough, not interrupting, watching her instead of the performer. The music shifted. Softer now, slower, the kind of melody that didn't demand attention, but held it anyway. Astria stepped a little closer, without thinking, without asking, just following the sound. Someone brushed past her shoulder. She didn't react, didn't break focus. Robert noticed. Of course he did. His hand moved, lightly, briefly, just guiding her back half a step. Not pulling, just placing her where she wouldn't get bumped again. She didn't look at him, but her tail moved once behind her, acknowledging. The song came to an end. A few scattered claps, some coins dropped into a case. The performer nodded in quiet thanks. Astria blinked once, like she was coming back from somewhere else, then looked at Robert. "What was that?" she asked. "Music," he said. "That's not what I meant." He smirked faintly. "Figured." She glanced back at the performer, then at the people, then back at him. "They weren't just listening," she said. "They were feeling it." "Yeah. Why?" Robert shrugged slightly. Depends on the person. That's not an answer. It's the honest one. She studied him, then the musician again. It wasn't precise, she said. It wasn't perfect. Nope. And they still stopped. Yeah. Her ears shifted slightly. That doesn't make sense. Robert stepped beside her now, not behind, matching her position. It doesn't have to, he said. She glanced at him. That's unsatisfying. That's music. A small pause. Then, I liked it, she admitted. Robert's lips curved slightly. Yeah? I didn't expect to. That happens. She looked back at the musician one more time. Then, without hesitation, she stepped forward. Robert raised an eyebrow. What are you doing? Participating. That's vague. It's supposed to be. She crouched slightly near the open case, not dropping money, not immediately, just looking, thinking. Then she reached into her pocket, pulled out a small, unfamiliar coin, not standard, not local, something else. Robert noticed instantly. Astria, he said quietly. She glanced back at him. What? That's not. I know, she said, then dropped it in anyway. The coin landed with a different sound, sharper, heavier. The musician looked up, not annoyed, just surprised. Astria stood again, calm, certain. You just gave him something he probably can't even use, Robert said. He'll figure it out. That's not how that works. She tilted her head slightly. It worked for me tonight. That caught him. She stepped back beside him again, looking at the musician one last time. He made something imperfect, she said, and people still stopped. Yeah, that's inefficient. Robert huffed a quiet laugh. You're really stuck on that. It matters. Why? She looked at him, direct, honest. Because you're like that. That landed. Robert blinked once. I'm like a street musician. You're not perfect, she said. Wow. Strong start. You don't try to be, she continued. And people still stop. A small pause, then, that's the nicest insult I've ever gotten, he said. Her smile returned. Soft, certain. It wasn't an insult. They didn't go back toward the main street. That would have been too obvious, too structured. Astria took a turn without announcing it, cutting through a narrow path between buildings that opened into a quieter stretch of the city. A park, not large, but open enough that the noise faded behind them. The ground shifted from pavement to gravel, then to soft grass. Lights were fewer here, dimmer, spread farther apart. You do this a lot? Robert asked. Do what? Change direction without warning. She glanced at him, faint smile forming. I follow what feels interesting. And this is interesting? You're still here, she said. Fair. They walked deeper into the park. Slower now, no rush, no destination. A breeze moved through the trees, soft at first, then cooler. Astria paused mid-step. Her ears shifted slightly. That's new, she said. What is? A drop hit the ground between them, then another. Robert looked up. Yeah, he said. That's rain. Astria didn't move, didn't step back, didn't react the way most people would. She just stood there, feeling it. Another drop landed on her shoulder, then another, on her hair, her cheek. Her tail flicked once, slow, curious. It's not unpleasant, she said. That's because it just started. And then it didn't just start anymore. The rain picked up, fast, sudden, from scattered drops to steady fall in seconds. Robert exhaled. Okay, now it's a problem. Astria looked up again, then laughed, not a polite laugh, not quiet. Real, bright. This is inefficient, she said over the sound of the rain. Yeah, that's one word for it, Robert replied. The rain came down harder, cold, fast, soaking through fabric almost instantly. Come on, he said, reaching lightly for her wrist, not pulling, just guiding. There's cover. She didn't resist, didn't argue, but she didn't move carefully either. She ran, not in a straight line, not efficiently, but fast, laughing as she went. Robert followed, half chasing, half trying to keep her from veering completely off course. You're going the wrong way. There is no wrong way. There is when you're trying not to drown. She laughed again, louder this time. By the time they reached the covered picnic structure, they were both soaked, completely. Rain hit the roof in a steady rhythm above them, loud enough to fill the space, soft enough to feel contained. Astria slowed as she stepped under the shelter, then stopped, breathing slightly heavier, not from exhaustion, from the moment. Water dripped from her hair, from her sleeves, from the edge of her tail. She looked down at herself, then at him. This is your fault, she said. Robert blinked. My fault? You told me it would be a problem. I tried to fix the problem. You didn't stop me. I tried. You followed me. That's different. She smiled, bright, satisfied. Then we're both responsible, she said. Great, he muttered, shared blame. He ran a hand through his hair. Pointless, still soaked. Astria watched him, not laughing now, just looking. Then she stepped closer, not dramatically, not sudden, just naturally. There was only so much dry space under the shelter, and neither of them moved away from the center. Their shoulders brushed, then stayed there. The rain filled the silence. Astria glanced out at it for a moment, then back at him. This is different, she said. Yeah. I didn't plan this. I figured. A small pause. Then, I like it more than I expected, she added. Robert looked at her, really looked this time. Not amused, not guarded, just present. Yeah, he said quietly. Me too. Another pause, but this one didn't feel uncertain. Astria shifted slightly, closer, not enough to be obvious, just enough that it mattered. You didn't pull away earlier, she said. Robert exhaled softly. No, even when you thought I might. Yeah. Her voice dropped slightly, not teasing, not testing, just real. I wasn't going to leave, she said. That landed. Robert didn't answer right away, didn't joke, didn't deflect. I know, he said. She studied him carefully. You're still thinking, she said. A little. About what? He hesitated, just slightly, then answered honestly. About how fast this is happening, he said. She didn't react immediately, didn't get defensive. Instead, she leaned in just a fraction closer. So slow it down, she said quietly. That surprised him. I thought you didn't like slow, he said. I don't like hesitation, she replied. That's different. Another beat, rain steady above them. This doesn't feel like hesitation, she added. Robert looked at her, closer now. Everything else faded just slightly. What does it feel like? He asked. Astria held his gaze. No teasing, no deflection. Like I don't want this to end, she said. There it was, not dramatic, not overwhelming, but real enough to settle between them. Robert's expression softened, just slightly. Yeah, he said. I don't either. The space between them shrank again. Not rushed, not forced, just inevitable. Her hand rested lightly against his arm, not pulling, not asking, just there. And for the first time, neither of them tried to control what happened next. And look at them now, traveler. The rain didn't stop. Not yet. It kept falling steadily against the roof above them, soft, constant, like it was sealing the ish moment in place. Astria didn't step away, didn't shift back into teasing. She stayed close, closer than before. Her hand was still resting lightly on his arm, warm despite the rain, grounding. She looked at him, not analyzing, not testing, just seeing him. "You're still here?" she said quietly. Robert gave a faint smile. "Yeah, I thought you might hesitate again." "Not this time." That was all it took. Astria moved first, not sudden, not overwhelming, slow, deliberate. Her hand slid slightly higher along his arm, fingers curling just enough to hold on to something real. Then she leaned in. Robert didn't freeze, didn't second guess. He met her halfway. The space between them disappeared. Not in a rush, but in a choice. The kiss was soft at first, careful, like both of them were confirming something they already knew. Rain tapping above them, breath warm between them, the world outside shrinking down to just this. Astria's grip tightened slightly, not pulling him in, just anchoring. Robert responded, not hesitant, not restrained, present. The kiss deepened naturally, not forced, not overwhelming, just enough to shift from uncertain to real. When they finally pulled back, it wasn't far, just enough to look at each other again. Astria's expression had changed. Still her, still playful at the edges, but softer, more open. "That was worth the rain," she said. Robert let out a quiet breath, still close. "Yeah," he said. "It was." And then, as if the moment had been waiting for it, the rain began to fade, from steady to light, from light to a few scattered drops, until finally it stopped. Astria glanced upward. "That's disappointing," she said. "You liked it?" "I liked this," she corrected. Robert smiled. They stepped out from under the shelter together. Everything smelled different now. Cool, clean. Water still clung to the pavement, reflecting the streetlights like scattered gold. "Come on," Robert said. "Where?" "I'll walk you home." She looked at him for a second, then smiled. "All right." They didn't rush, didn't need to. The streets were quieter now. The rain had pushed most people away. Their shoulders brushed occasionally as they walked. Neither of them moved to correct it. Astria's tail swayed behind her, slow, relaxed, not playful, content. "You do this often?" she asked. "Walk people home?" "No," she said. "Stay." Robert glanced at her. "Not often." She nodded once, like she expected that. "Good," she said. They reached her place sooner than either of them wanted. A small building, nothing special, but hers. Astria stopped near the entrance, turned to face him. For a second, neither of them spoke. Then, "This was a good first date," she said. Robert smirked faintly. "Starting with dessert helped." "It did." Small pause, then, "I'm going to see you again," she said. Not a question. Robert nodded. "Yeah," he said. "You are." That seemed to satisfy her. She stepped back toward the door, then paused, looked at him again, and smiled. Not sharp, not teasing, soft. Then she lifted her hand, a small wave, and disappeared inside. The door closed, and just like that, the space felt different, quieter. Robert stood there for a second longer than he needed to, then exhaled. "Huh," he muttered. He turned, started walking back the way they came. The streets were still damp, reflections shifting with each step. His clothes were still wet, hair still dripping slightly. He didn't care. His mind replayed it. Not everything, not every word, just moments. The way she looked at him in the rain, the way she didn't hesitate, the way she stayed, and the kiss. Robert ran a hand through his hair again. Pointless, still soaked. Yeah, he said quietly to himself. This wasn't going to be simple. And for once, that didn't feel like a problem. The door shut behind him with a soft click. Robert stood there for a moment, still in his damp clothes, the quiet of his apartment settling around him. The night hadn't left him yet. It clung to him, rain, laughter, the way she looked at him under that shelter. He exhaled slowly and dropped his keys on the counter. Okay, he muttered. And then the thoughts started. They came fast, not loud, but persistent. That happened quickly, too quickly. He leaned back against the counter, arms crossing as his mind kept moving. She wasn't human. That wasn't just a detail. It changed everything. Different instincts, different culture, different ways of seeing the world. He rubbed the back of his neck, thinking, what does that even look like, long term? It wasn't just about liking her. It was about everything that came after that. How would it work? What kind of problems would they run into? Would they clash on things that didn't matter now, but would later? His jaw tightened slightly, and then the bigger question slipped in. What if they couldn't have kids? He let out a quiet breath through his nose. Yeah, that's a whole conversation. That thought didn't sit lightly. It stayed there, lingering because it wasn't small. It was the kind of thing that mattered later, the kind of thing that changed how far something could go. He pushed off the counter and paced once across the room. This wasn't simple, and normally that would have been enough. Enough to slow down, pull back, reconsider. That's how he operated. But his steps slowed, because those thoughts weren't the only thing in his head. Not even close. He saw her again, clear as if she was still there, sitting across from him, completely unfazed, ordering dessert like it made perfect sense. The way she looked when she realized how good it was. That small shift, from curiosity to enjoyment. Then the rain. The way she didn't hesitate, didn't care that she was getting soaked, just ran, laughing like it was the best thing that could have happened. And then, the way she looked at him before the kiss. No games, no testing, just honest. He exhaled again, quieter this time. Yeah, that mattered more. More than the questions, more than the uncertainty. Because none of those thoughts changed one simple thing. He wanted to see her again. Not out of curiosity, not just attraction. Because being with her felt right. Robert leaned back against the counter again, this time more relaxed. We'll figure it out, he said under his breath. It wasn't a perfect plan. It wasn't even a plan at all. But it was a decision. Whatever came with it, differences, complications, questions, he was willing to face it. With her. Humans like Robert don't fall easily. They calculate, they question, they prepare for things that haven't happened yet. And yet, sometimes even they reach a point where logic stops being the deciding factor, not because the questions disappear, but because something else becomes more important. Astria closed the door behind her and stayed there for a second, her back resting lightly against it. The quiet inside felt different from the quiet outside. Still, focused, she let out a slow breath. That went well, she murmured. A small pause. I think. Her ears lowered slightly, not fully, just enough to show the uncertainty creeping in. Humans were difficult, not in what they did, in how they felt, in how they showed it. She pushed off the door and walked further inside, her steps slower now. His scent still lingered faintly on her. Not strong, but enough. Her tail moved once behind her. Steady, she said softly. That's what he had been. Not reactive, not overwhelming, just steady. And that made him harder to read. She replayed the night in her head. The cafe, the way he didn't correct her, the music, the rain, the kiss. She stopped mid-step. Did I push too much? She wondered aloud. It was possible. She knew how she was. Direct, fast, certain. She didn't hesitate, but humans did. They slowed things down, measured reactions, held back, and she hadn't done that? Not once. Her ears dipped slightly again. He didn't pull away, she said quietly. That mattered. A lot. But was that enough? She turned slightly, pacing once across the room. He hadn't stopped her. He hadn't hesitated the second time. He stayed. But did that mean he felt the same way? Humans didn't signal things clearly, not like she was used to. No clean markers, no obvious tells, just subtlety. And she wasn't built for subtle. She exhaled slowly, forcing herself to stop pacing. You're overthinking, she muttered. That was new, uncomfortable, but true. She closed her eyes for a second, then remembered something simple. His voice, calm, certain. I'll see you again. Her eyes opened, her ears lifted slightly. Right. He said that. Not vague, not uncertain. He meant it. Her shoulders relaxed just a fraction. All right, she said softly. That was enough, for now. She didn't need every answer tonight. She didn't need certainty yet. She just needed to trust what had already happened. And what he said. Her tail swayed once behind her. Slower now. Calmer. I'll see him again, she said. This time, without doubt. And that was enough to let her breathe again. Robert didn't go to sleep right away. He tried. Lights off, room quiet, lying there staring at the ceiling. Didn't work. His mind kept circling back, not to the questions this time, not to the complications, to her. The way she smiled when something genuinely surprised her. The way she ran through the rain like it didn't matter. The way she looked at him before she kissed him. He let out a quiet breath and turned onto his side. Yeah, that's not going away, he muttered. He reached over, grabbed his phone from the nightstand, paused, just for a second, then made the call. It rang once, twice. Robert? She picked up fast. He smirked slightly, sitting up now. Yeah. A small pause, then, did I wake you? He asked. No. Immediate. Too immediate. He caught it. You were still awake? Yes. Another small pause. Thinking, she admitted. That made his smile soften. Yeah, he said. Same. Silence settled for a second. Not awkward, just real. Then he exhaled, decided. You free in a couple days? He asked. On the other end, stillness. What? Astria said. A couple days. He repeated. When we're both off work? A beat. Then, I figured we could. He paused, then corrected himself. More certain now. I want to take you out again. There it was, clear, no hesitation, no ambiguity. The silence on the other end changed. You're asking me, she said. Yeah, another pause, but this one was different, lighter. Yes, she said, then a little faster. Yes, I'm free. Robert huffed a quiet laugh. All right, good. You decided fast, she said. I thought about it. And? And I want to see you again. Her breath softened on the other end. Not dramatic, but relieved. Good, she said quietly. He leaned back slightly, more relaxed now. Yeah, another small pause. Then, I thought I might have pushed too much, she admitted. Robert shook his head slightly, even though she couldn't see it. You didn't, he said. A beat. I kept up, he added. That earned a quiet laugh from her. Soft, genuine. You did, she said. The tension that had lingered on both sides finally eased. All right, Robert said. I'll figure something out. You will, she replied. Yeah. Uh, Pause. Then, good night, Robert. Good night, Astria. The call ended. Robert set the phone down. This time, when he leaned back into the bed, his mind didn't race. It settled, not because he had answers, but because he had a direction. And that was enough. Astria lowered the phone slowly, still standing in the same spot. Her ears were lifted now, fully. Her tail moved behind her. Not sharp, not testing, happy. He called, she said softly. The doubt from earlier. Gone. Not because everything was certain, but because one thing was. He chose to call. He chose to ask. He chose her. She smiled. Small at first, then wider. Second date, she murmured. Her shoulders relaxed completely now. I didn't ruin it, she added, quieter. And for the first time since the door closed behind her, she felt completely at ease. There it is, traveler. Not the first meeting, not the first kiss, but the choice to continue. Humans call it a second date. Such a simple phrase, and yet it carries something far more important. Intent. Two people from different worlds, different instincts, different ways of understanding everything around them, choosing to see what happens next. And now the question becomes, what will they discover about each other? What will challenge them? What will bring them closer? And perhaps most importantly, will they still choose each other? If you wish to follow this story further, let me know you enjoyed it, and I'll begin a part 2. There are deeper archives waiting. And of course, to those who continue to support these transmissions, thank you. And a special shout out to our Hall of Fame members. Thank you, Ivan, Craig, Astro Rat, Cake Sludge, Jericho Cross, and Robert. Your continued support makes these stories possible. If you wish to be a part of the Hall of Fame, consider taking a trip to the Patreon, linked below. Until the next signal, traveler, stay curious.